Glenn Greenwald.
Another tinfoil hat wearing, crazy, mentally ill conspiracy theorist.
Let's talk about y'all. Middle
America. Well, we told you guys we had a second video coming tonight or this morning, and sure enough, it's 1:55. I'm Vin.
I'm D.L. Beluga, and you know it.
And you know it. Here we go. Before I get in, dear listener, to the subject at hand, I wanted to read a nice selection from the comments section. Now, I usually don't do this, and I'm definitely, to D.L. Beluga's horrifying disappointment, I am definitely not going to release the name of this individual, but I did find it comical. So in our last video, I talked about the psychological operations that have been ran by the members of the supposedly left-wing media. Ben Webb always corrects me; they're not left-wing, but you get the point. Yes. And the Silicon Valley big tech people.
Yep. Of course.
And here is what a dear listener, a dear middle American said. You know, mental illness is a serious issue. If you find yourself believing all kinds of wild conspiracy theories, it's probably time to talk to somebody about it. Otherwise, you may end up in your in your basement rambling to yourself while trying to build a nuclear bomb. Seriously, this is dangerous when you start to lose your grasp on reality. This, my friend out there, now look, Middle America's a free speech environment. Facebook.com/America Middle, you can get on. And you're allowed to say things like this because we believe in free speech.
Mm-hmm. Well, sure.
What do you mean? Where you're disagreeing?
Well, I mean,
go ahead.
I don't think. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but I don't think certain outlets believe in freedom of speech.
Well, Middle America. We're talking about Middle America.
We Middle America.
Right. That's why I'm posting Brother Singh, where he basically called both of us crazy people for daring to question the CIA, Facebook, and Twitter.
Or Jack Dorsey.
Well, here is Mr. Glenn Greenwald, one of the founding creators of the Intercept. You guys know Glenn Greenwald shot to fame basically because of the whole Edward Snowden situation, in which Republicans and Democrats basically tried to find him and wanted to kill him. And he had to flee, etc., etc. That's where Greenwald and the Intercept got their fame. Well, recently, Brother Greenwald has resigned from the news agency that he helped to create. Now, why, oh, why would a person do such a thing, DL? Well,
I have no idea.
One of DL Beluga's favorite human beings and propagandists on the planet is a man by the name of Tucker Carlson. Now, here's something I will give Tucker Carlson. Tucker's one of these, like, across-the-aisle type guys.
Oh, like Chris Wallace.
He has favorable interviews with Jimmy Dore. He's had favorable interviews with Tulsi. And now he's about to talk to Glenn Greenwald. So here we are. Let's figure out why Glenn Greenwald left The Intercept.
The Intercept's editors, in violation of my contractual right of editorial freedom, censored an article I wrote this week, refusing to publish it unless I removed all sections critical of Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden, the candidate vehemently supported by all New York-based Intercept editors involved in this effort at suppression.
Oh, goodness. And the liberals are the ones talking about ending our democracy.
Correct.
These are the same freaking people saying, oh, Trump's the end of our democracy, we're the fascists. The same people.
We're at a week, and somebody rightly pointed out fascism is talking about right-wing authoritarian, so it's impossible for them to be fascist, but they're definitely authoritarian. Sure, whatever. I'll go with it. But here they are. This guy started the freaking paper.
Yeah.
He started it.
When Jack Dorsey starts something, he gets to censor it. When Glenn Greenwald starts something, he doesn't get to do it.
He gets censored by his own folks. Look, the editors at the Intercept, how dumb could you be? This is a guy who broke the Edward Snowden situation, which literally put his life in danger. He lives in Brazil now, by the way. He doesn't even live in America. Did you honestly think he was going to keep quiet about that? See, these people are delusional. They live in some ivory tower. They really thought that he wasn't going to come out and blitz them over this. And you really think that at the common mainstream level that any of you is going to have any, like a scintilla of the credibility among thinking people? Why would you do that? We continue.
And he went on. Greenwald's full statement is up tonight at an internet platform called Substack, which is not yet censored. No matter who you plan to vote for next week, we recommend that you read it. Glenn Greenwald joins us tonight. Glenn, thanks so much for coming on. The idea of you resigning from a news organization you helped found is stunning. Tell us why you did.
Well, the news organization that I co-created was in 2013 at the height of the Snowden reporting. I left The Guardian to do it because I was seeing that there were a lot of constraints imposed on journalism and our ability to report freely again.
Now, wait a second. DL.
What's up?
Who was the president in 2013?
It's that black racist and bomber, Barack Hussein Obama.
What do you mean he's a racist? You mean Obama's a racist? Where are you getting?
Racist. I think he's racist.
No empirical data.
No, let's call him a warmonger, okay?
Okay.
Warmonger.
Bloodluster. Okay, that's better.
Who went down and apologized.
Honestly, to some of these people, it's better that he be a warmonger who killed innocent Afghans than actually a racist.
Or a racist,
yeah. So during this period, during the Obama administration, this man said he had to stand up the Intercept because he was noticing that news agencies were not publishing the straight dope on what was happening with Mr. Snowden.
Mm-hmm.
Against governments, against power centers, against all kinds of institutions that wield authority. And the premise of the news outlet, the core overarching premise, the reason it was created was to ensure that journalists would always have complete journalistic independence and editorial freedom. Never have to pull punches journalistically or pay homage to pieties because of the preferences, the partisan or ideological preferences of editors or of anybody else. That was the core founding idea and vision. And then that is what makes it so amazing that at the very outlet that I co-created, that was built on my reputation, my credibility, my journalistic accomplishments, then tried to intervene to censor me 6 days before an election because I wanted to publish reporting and analysis about the evidence that raises serious questions about the conduct of the candidate that all of the editors at that outlet vehemently and enthusiastically support.
Wow.
There isn't a coordinated assault on free speech and not a coordinated attempt to manufacture consent and to create a certain curated persona of Mr. Biden? There isn't? Okay.
I would imagine that some of our viewers don't read The Intercept. You live outside our country, which is one of the reasons I think you say what you think is true. Tell us what this portends for the future here in the United States.
That's a very serious question. Look, if you're a liberal, you consider yourself a Democrat, the left, I don't care. You have to realize that what's happening is you're literally selling your American soul to this institution. You got to understand that. Because the authoritarianism, the anti-constitutionalism, the anti-American values are clear as day. And I'm not talking about so-called cultural Marxism. What I'm talking about is one of the bedrocks of Americans. You know, one of the most amazing live streams I ever did was I had a guy come on. He was a far-right guy. He's like, we're the only country that believes in free speech. I'm like, what are you talking about? We got people all over the world in this chat, yada, yada, yada. And he said, in England, you do not have freedom of speech the way that we have it. And I'm like, man, that's crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. And an English dude came on and said, no, that's true.
Oh, wow.
We don't have freedom of speech the way that y'all have it here in America. So when I say anti-Americanism, that's what I'm talking about. The cancel culture, the outright censorship is insane.
So The Intercept was actually, for a while, a unique publication, and I think the vision I just described is one reason, but another was that it was intended, above all else, to be highly skeptical of the claims of intelligence agencies. At the time when we were doing the reporting, the attacks were coming from the NSA, the CIA, the deep state against me, against my source Edward Snowden, and against the reporting. And we knew they were lying constantly and disseminating propaganda in a very powerful way. So we set out to say, we're going to investigate them. We're going to be skeptical of them. We're going to subject their assertions to critical scrutiny. And I am so embarrassed and angered that the media outlet that I created, along with two other excellent journalists, to do that.
So Glenn Greenwald just said that there is a CIA, NSA, FBI conspiracy in conjunction with the media to suppress information to the American people.
And perpetuate propaganda.
And to perpetuate propaganda. Now, I have been telling people that the last 4 years of CNN and MSNBC has been what they call a long game psychological operation. And when you say that to people who can't refute what you're saying, they go to the ad hominem and say that you're crazy. Mm-hmm. Well, Mr. Person, who I won't name because it's not my goal to embarrass you on the planet, is Glenn Greenwald also crazy? Because Mr. Greenwald went a lot farther than I did in the previous video. I talked about the alphabet companies, etc., etc. He said, we were stood up to combat this nonsense. Interesting. And now, the Intercept has been absorbed into the Borg. You don't know that reference, but other people do. We continue.
The only article it published about all of these documents that have emerged about Joe Biden, other than a column of mine where I denounced Facebook and Twitter for censoring it, was an article that made reference in passing to those documents very snidely and dismissively to say that no one should pay attention to it because it was Russian disinformation, and it cited a letter from John Brennan, James Clapper, Mike Hayden, and the rest of the goons from the CIA and the intelligence community asserting it. And worse still, that letter said, we have no evidence that Russia's involved in any of this. The Intercept omitted that phrase, simply cited that letter to try and encourage people to ignore this evidence on the grounds that Russia had manufactured it and that the evidence was fabricated, even though there's never been any evidence for that's been true, and everything since has disproven it, showing Russia was not involved in any of this, and nobody, certainly not even Joe Biden, disputes that these emails and other text messages are completely real and authentic.
So disgusting. What a disgusting.
So
I'm disgusted.
So I didn't really know much about the Russia conspiracy thing at the very beginning. So I was first introduced to it by Leah, OG of the Village.
Yeah.
So I had a call, and we were going back and forth, and everybody was talking about the Russians over here, and then Leah was over here laughing at everybody. And at the time, it was just breaking. So I'm like, Leah, you can't laugh. I mean, we got to wait till the facts come out. She's like, no, I'm telling you, Vin, everything is about Russia with these people. I was like, dude, stop it. Bro, everything is about Russia with these people.
Man.
Holy moly. So every time you hear something unfavorable about Mrs. Clinton or Mr. Biden, it's the Russians.
Vladimir Putin.
Shout out to the big homie. Hey, you probably don't watch this right now. Can you believe this nonsense? Holy moly. So there's an article, and the only thing they said about the bombshells that have been relative to Mr. Biden and his family is, well, don't listen to what they have to say. It's Russian propaganda. And then
they omit it when they say that it wasn't confirmed. That right there to me is next level, because it's one thing if you're like CNN and 92% of the time on the evening news, which is, I'm not making that figure up, that's literally a figure that was just unveiled in the study. But besides the point, when you blatantly do that, it's like, okay, well, I can, as a nonpartisan voter, I'm not pointing myself because I'm a nonpartisan voter, but as a nonpartisan voter, look at the facts and be like, well, you know, CNN is pretty biased. Fox News maybe a little bit biased. But when you do something like that and they say, oh, well, they published a negative source, you're all like, oh, well, but then when you omit that phrase, and of course, average voters are going to go in all these rabbit holes like we do, or Carlson does, or any of these journalists even do, like even ultra liberals do. They're just going to see that and they're like, well, it's a negative article. This looks like a nonpartisan source because I mean, they wrote an article about it, but they omit that one little phrase.
That's a very good point.
That's just messed up.
That is an extremely good point, DL, which is the Intercept is perceived as going after everybody and not a neutral party, but a party that goes after the truth and is skeptical of everybody in every institution.
Absolutely. And that's why it made it seem a little weird when I said that's next level during that entire thing after we just heard out disgusting information. But it may seem a little weird, but after you think about it a little bit longer, it's actually not that strange that I said that was next level, because that is truly next level.
Yeah, it's like, I forgot who it was. I think it was PolitiFact. And they had, we had this debate about Margaret Sanger and her racist views and things like that. And PolitiFact posts the famous statement where she says, we don't want word to go out to the Negro that we're trying to, exterminate the black race. And then she says, the black minister is the perfect person. And then they to communicate, basically. Then they ended the quote there. But that was mid-sentence. The rest of the sentence said, should we run into any problems among their more rebellious constituents? So she was saying, in reality, we're going to use a black minister. We don't want word to go out that we want to get rid of black people. So we're going to use the black minister because he is the one that is able to quell the more rebellious neighbors. PolitiFact didn't even add an ellipses at the end. They cut her off. No. They omitted the more rebellious members line because it sounds racist, because it is. It's almost on the level of super predators. And then they said, oh no, she was being taken out of context. They literally took her out of context on purpose and did not, what you're supposed to do if you cut somebody off mid-sentence, is drop an ellipses at the end. They didn't even do that. So this is what happens when organizations like PolitiFact, Snopes, all that stuff, and then the Intercept, when there's this assumption that they're sort of, it's all about journalistic integrity and objective truth, when in reality they clearly have their own agenda. That's obvious. Holy moly. That was a good point, though, about the Intercept. Well done.
Thank you.
We continue.
That's horrifying. So what you're watching is agencies of the U.S. government turning their awesome and unconstrained powers against the American population.
This is the real story of the last 4 years of the Trump administration, which is that for a long time on the left, there was a healthy skepticism of the CIA.
Yes, there was.
There was a lot of anti-war activism in the Bush and Cheney years. That has all disappeared. And the reason it's disappeared is because the CIA, from the very first days of the Trump administration, even before he was inaugurated, devoted themselves to sabotaging the administration because Donald Trump questioned just a few of their pieties, and that can't be done in Washington. Whoever does that must be destroyed. And so the CIA and the deep state operatives became heroes of the liberal left, the people who support the Democratic Party. They're now in a full union with the neocons, the Bush Cheney operatives, the CIA, Silicon Valley, and Wall Street. That is the union of power, along with mainstream media outlets that are fully behind the Democratic Party, which is likely to at least take over one branch of government, if not all of them, in the coming election. And that is a very alarming proposition because they're authoritarian, they believe in censorship, and they believe in suppression of information that exposes them in any kind of a critical light.
Whoa!
Oh boy.
I guess Glenn Greenwald is also mentally ill. I mean, look what he said. He used the term deep state, CIA, FBI, NSA in conjunction with Silicon Valley, big tech, and then standard media institution at large have all coalesced together in order to destroy Donald Trump even before he was officially elected.
Inaugurated.
No, elected.
Oh, they said elected?
Yeah.
Oh. Wow.
So, miss me with it. Oh, you're mentally ill, blah, 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 blah. Holy moly. Holy moly.
Why don't you get on the show and debate?
They're not.
Let's see how mentally we are now.
They're there.
Yeah, I know. I know he's not, or she's not.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure
They're not.
He wouldn't even go out, wouldn't even debate you, much less. But again, the reason I read that is because it's so indicative of the mindset of, these Democrats, liberals, left, whatever you want to call them, unthinking people who, somebody, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, they were like, why are you always going after us? why don't you go after, let's punch him down. Why don't you go after, people like Jimmy Dore? Because Jimmy Dore only goes after the elites or whatever. This is the reason I go after regular people. Because we're responsible to use our minds and our ability to put logical syllogisms together to make an informed decision about where our country is going. If people couldn't vote to influence policy, procedure, and other things like that, then I would only go after the politicians. However, when you willingly surrender your mind to these people, you have got to be held accountable. Glenn Greenwald, you can say whatever you want about me. We're a 2-bit operation in a room with a little lava lamp in the back. But you cannot question Glenn Greenwald's credibility. And he just explained to you, the dude literally, in more detail, said what we said in the previous video a couple hours ago.
Yep. I didn't even see this clip.
We didn't watch this clip. We were talking about the confluence of the alphabet groups along with Silicon Valley big tech and along with the standardized media outlets, MSNBC, CNN being the forefront. He said they're all in it together to destroy this guy. He literally said that. Well, maybe he's crazy. What about this? Maybe this guy's crazy too. This is Chuck Schumer.
And he's taking these shots, this antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you.
There's old Chuck Schumer there with a head full of conspiracy theories. Mm-hmm. Guys, this is
what she is conspiracy theories.
Well, yeah, she was talking about how the Russians are going to freeze us out in Fargo and we're all going to freeze to death and all that. And I actually had somebody in the comment section be like, you can laugh all you want, but we really would die if the Russians did that. Holy moly. This is a country. Just so you know, the state of California has a higher GDP than
Canada.
Than Russia.
Oh, and Russia too?
Yeah.
I thought Russia would be third.
Holy moly.
Oh, wow.
Guys,
I guess Russia and Canada.
We know what this is. These people do not believe that they are the same as you and I. They believe that they are above you and I and need to make decisions for you and I. DL is my son. There's certain information I will not tell him because he's my child. These people treat you like children. They determine what you're supposed to say, think, and believe. Holy moly. And this is this is undeniable. And my thing is, if you were so concerned about democracy and the viability of our democracy, how in the world can you justify this? Tucker Carlson, I'm not a fan of. He used the term horrifying. He's right. We do not know. We're not going to know until 20, 30 years from now the psychological impact of social media. Mm-hmm. We won't know. And this was a very sophisticated, coordinated assault that I know for a fact had to be accomplished via hundreds of meetings and thousands of hours of planning. I know that for a fact.
Oh boy.
In order to make those coordinations with all those moving pieces and all of those variables, you gotta meet and discuss that shit for a very long time.
So you think the FBI meeting with like CNN and stuff?
Schumer's saying it, Greenwald is saying it. Who else do you need to hear it from? This is the thing that kills me about these people.
Like you think they actually had hundreds of action meetings, but they sat down.
I would bet your life on it.
Like who would be in these meetings? Like James Comey and like.
Yeah, Comey. Yeah, for sure.
And the head of CNN or.
Comey, Miller, CNN, MSNBC, the whole 9 yards. I mean, he said it himself. This is a coordinated assault from all these different elements, and do not forget Facebook and Twitter. This is just a fact. They had that lady from Twitter on the Joe Rogan show, and Tim Pool brought her to task, and she didn't know what to do with herself. These people are blatantly and nakedly doing the best that they can. They're doing their part to get rid of this man.
Why do you think it's not working?
Well, I think it's not working because Donald Trump has basically been Teflon, and
this whole I never understood that whole Teflon.
Nothing sticks to Teflon. You're like a non-stick pan. It's made out of Teflon. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So look, man.
That's what they're calling it, Teflon Don.
Yeah.
Yeah. That. Okay.
Yeah. Nothing sticks with them. I think it didn't work. Well, here's a major reason it didn't work. Because it was a lie. That's why it didn't work. It's amazing to me that liberals who were like, the CIA lied us into a war. Correctly, by the way. They correctly stated that the CIA lied us into a war. Now you've got Rachel Maddow, who's supposed to be a leftist, saying, he keeps taking shots at the intelligence community. Huh? I thought y'all didn't like the intelligence community for lying. I thought you didn't trust them. Now all of a sudden you trust them because they're doing this to somebody you hate. Here is the thing. I keep trying to tell you guys this. I've been saying this for almost 2 years, Beluga. Whatever you co-sign from this cabal of very, very dangerous individuals, you also co-sign for it to happen in the other way. And please miss me with the Tukokwe stuff. There is no analogy on the Republican side to this nonsense. When the Republicans...
Not even Watergate.
This is ridiculous. It's unbelievable. Look, when the Republicans...
No, I just said that just to make sure the liberals got the message. I don't actually think that Watergate's been a percent of
correct
nonsense.
You're 100% correct. Guys, come on. Come on, we know what this is. We see what this is. There is no analogy on the Republican side for what we're seeing here. It's impossible because it is obvious that the Silicon Valley big tech folks are decidedly on one side. That's a fact. It's just a fact.
Alphabet, Facebook, and Twitter are all have the same agenda.
And mainstream news, CNN, MSNBC.
Yeah. And when I say Alphabet, I mean Google. Not the Alphabet company.
No, I hear you. I hear you. It's why our videos will be demonetized for all eternity. This stuff is absolutely crazy. It's crazy. And if you don't see how absolutely horrific it is, say what you want about Mr. Trump, he's still a United States citizen. But what happens is these propagandists and psychological operators have done such a good job of brainwashing you into really believing that this dude is an orange demon walking around about to destroy America, that they can now do any sort of violation of his freedoms, and you will non-critically say, great, whatever it takes. It's just like the right-wingers who were celebrating when Mr. Obama killed Anwar al-Awlaki without having him stand trial in Turkey.
Yeah, that's for like Tulsi.
They were celebrating it, not realizing, wait a second, this is an American citizen, and if he can do that in broad daylight to an American citizen, what's going to happen if he turns his guns on me? So what's going to happen, liberals, when the Republicans say, all right, screw that, we're going to go here. But let me tell you something about Republicans. They hated Trump.
It's true.
They launched a Never Trump campaign while he was running for office. But the Republican Party said, well, the people want him. What are we going to do? All right, he's our guy. Let's fall in.
You know, the DNC did the same thing with Bernie. They hated him, but he said, you know what? If the people like him, we'll put him up there.
Correct.
Oh, wait.
They didn't.
I think they stole that election.
They didn't. They stole the election. Correct. So.
And then poor Bernie endorsed Hillary so that when he got exposed, he couldn't do anything.
Correct. 50 plus times he went around and campaigned for her. He was going to states that she refused to go to. And how did they thank him? Blaming him for their epic loss. Look, if you're on the left and you think all these violations of people's rights are cool, go for it, man. Go for it. I'm telling you, you're going to reap what you sow. Unbelievable stuff. Shout out to the big homie Glenn Greenwald for telling the truth. Unbelievable stuff. Love your neighbor.
Take care of each other.
Middle America.
We are the media.
Till next time, guys.